Drake has been the undisputed champion of hip-hop for over a decade, ruling the charts, dominating streams, and shaping the culture. But after the release of SSS For You, it's hard to ignore the cracks in his empire. This was supposed to be the moment when Drake showed us that he was still on top, that he could push boundaries and redefine his sound. But instead, SSS For You has turned into one of the most unexpected flops in hip-hop history. What happened? Why did a star of Drake's caliber fail to connect with fans on the level he once did? Today, we're diving deep into the numbers, the competition, and what's really going on with Drake's career at this moment in time. From disappointing streaming numbers to the rise of new contenders, let's break it all down and understand how Drake went from king of the rap game to struggling to stay relevant. The release of SSS For You was met with massive anticipation. Fans lined up excited for what they expected to be another banger from the Sixth God, but what they got was something entirely different. The album's opening numbers were a major letdown. Drake's album managed just over 56 million streams on its first day, which is far below what anyone expected from an artist of his stature. To put this in perspective, For All the Dogs, his previous project, opened with a staggering 108 million streams. That's nearly half the numbers. This is the kind of decline that most artists only experience in the later years of their careers. But for Drake, a superstar with a massive fan base, this kind of drop is shocking. What's even more concerning is that even after the initial rush, the album's numbers haven't bounced back. It's a downward spiral that suggests that SSS For You isn't just a slow burn, it's burning out fast. While Drake's album stumbles out of the gate, his competitors are thriving. Kendrick Lamar, the very artist Drake has had a long-standing rivalry with, is dominating. Kendrick's music, which has been out for months, continues to outperform Drake's SSS For You in streams, despite the fact that it's no longer a new release. Not like Us and Luther, 2 tracks from Kendrick have been consistently outstreaming the majority of Drake's songs. But it's not just Kendrick who's winning in the streaming war. Big names like Bad Bunny and The Weeknd are also doing better than Drake. Bad Bunny's albums continue to pull in massive numbers, showing just how much global audiences are gravitating towards Latin music, while The Weeknd's Hurry Up Tomorrow blew past Drake in streaming numbers, securing the biggest debut of the year so far. The Weeknd's success is particularly telling because it's not just the size of the numbers, it's the genre and sound. The Weeknd's R&B inspired album is hitting harder than Drake's latest attempt at a hybrid hip-hop R&B project. The real issue here is that Drake, once untouchable in the streaming wars, is now trailing behind multiple artists who once seemed far less of a threat. It's not just that Kendrick is outperforming him, it's that Drake is struggling to keep up with everyone. Rising stars, legends, and even artists from outside his usual lane. When you're being outstreamed by artists in different genres, you know your grip on the top spot is slipping. It's no longer just about competing with his peers in hip-hop. Drake is now losing out to the newer wave of artists as well as the established giants who have already solidified their legacy. Take Tyler, the Creator, for instance. His album Chromacopia opened with over 80 million streams, a huge number, especially considering it only had 14 tracks. Compare that to Drake's 21-track SSS For You, and the difference becomes stark. You would think that with more songs, Drake would have an advantage in streaming numbers, but that's not the case here. Chromacopia is a prime example of how quality can easily outshine quantity. Tyler's album is more focused, with each track contributing to the overall sound and vibe, while Drake's effort feels disjointed and less impactful. Then we have the legacy acts. Eminem's last album, Curtain Call 2, outperformed SSS For You, which says a lot considering Eminem's been in the game for decades. Eminem, who doesn't release albums as frequently as Drake, is still outstripping Drake's numbers with an album that didn't have the same kind of promotional push or mainstream buzz. It's further proof that no matter how big you are, if your music isn't connecting with people, those numbers are going to take a hit. It's easy to chalk this up to bad luck or changing tastes, but the truth is much deeper. When we look at the core issue with SSS For You, it's clear that the album just doesn't live up to expectations, musically, thematically, or creatively. Drake has always been an artist who knows how to create waves, whether through his lyrics, his features, or his ability to ride the cultural moment. But here, he's fallen short. The album feels tired and uninspired, with far too many forgettable tracks that fail to offer anything new. There's no real narrative driving the album forward, no central theme that connects the tracks together in a meaningful way. Even the moments that should stand out, Drake's rapping, feel weak and underwhelming. Compare this to the creativity of artists like Kendrick Lamar, who has built entire careers on challenging conventions and pushing the envelope. Even newer artists like Tyler and The Weeknd are experimenting with sound in ways that feel fresh and exciting. But Drake's album, it feels like a recycled version of his past work without any of the energy or innovation that once made him the genre-defining artist he was. The reality is that Drake's fans and critics alike were expecting him to evolve, to take risks and redefine himself. Instead, he delivered a record that feels like an afterthought. And in a music world that's constantly shifting, afterthoughts don't stand a chance. Drake's struggle isn't just with his usual rivals. It's with anyone who's managed to stay relevant, from newer artists to veterans. Let's take a look at Vulture's One, a collaborative album that had minimal industry backing and was actively being blocked from staying on the charts. Despite all that, it still outperformed Drake's SSS For You for several days. What's more shocking is that this album came from artists who aren't at the peak of their careers. They were essentially playing from behind without the commercial backing or the massive fan base that Drake commands. Yet, they still managed to outshine him. This is a stark contrast to the time when Drake used to outstream anyone in his path, even in competitive years. Now he's being eclipsed by artists with far fewer resources, and even those with long-established careers like Eminem are proving that they can still pack a punch when it comes to numbers and influence. The industry is passing him by, and no amount of chart-topping singles or viral moments can change that. By day 2, the album's streams had plummeted, dropping to 30 million, a far cry from the opening numbers. This is what's most troubling about the album, the lack of staying power. It's not just that the album didn't live up to expectations, it's that people aren't coming back for more. In an era where repeat listens and viral hits are key to sustained success, SSS For You is faltering. Other albums like GS have seen an increase in streams after the second day, showing that audiences are eager for more. But with SSS For You, the drop-off is immediate and significant. When an album experiences such a sharp decline in streams so early on, it suggests that the hype was all surface level. Fans may have listened to it once, but they didn't feel compelled to go back. This is a huge red flag for Drake, as his ability to captivate listeners has been a major part of his success over the years. Without repeat listens and sustained engagement, the numbers can only go downhill from here. Another major factor in this flop is the music itself. In a world where artists are pushing boundaries and experimenting with new sounds, Drake is coming off as uninspired and stale. His latest project doesn't feel like it's contributing anything new to the conversation in hip-hop or music in general. Albums like Hurry Up Tomorrow from The Weeknd or Chromacopia from Tyler, the Creator, showcase creativity, emotional depth, and a distinct voice that SSS For You simply lacks. When you listen to albums like these, you can't help but feel that Drake missed the mark, both in terms of sound and relevance. What's most troubling is the growing sense that Drake's moment in the spotlight is coming to an end. The industry is moving forward with fresh sounds and new energy, and Drake, once the unstoppable force of rap, is now being overtaken. Even his most loyal fans can't ignore the fact that his music just isn't resonating the way it used to. While the For All the Dogs album might have had some viral moments, For You feels like it has no lasting impact. Fans are already moving on, and as the album ages, it's likely that even fewer people will be talking about it. It's a tough pill to swallow, especially for fans who have followed Drake's career from the start. This is the same artist who redefined the hip-hop game and became a cultural icon. But when we look at the numbers, the critical response, and the overall public perception of SSS For You, it's hard to ignore that Drake's reign is slowly unraveling. He's been in this game long enough to know how to manipulate the numbers, how to make sure his songs stay on top of the charts. But the truth is undeniable. When the music doesn't connect with the audience, no amount of gimmicks can save it. We're witnessing the slow fade of an era. So what does the future hold for Drake? Can he bounce back from this massive flop, or has he reached the end of the line? If SSS For You is truly the moment that marks the end of Drake's dominance, it will be one of the most significant shifts in hip-hop history. The question isn't whether Drake will continue to make music, but whether he can ever recapture the influence and power he once had. As new artists rise to the occasion and old legends continue to dominate, Drake will have to reinvent himself if he's going to stay relevant. The road ahead is uncertain, and as fans, we'll all be watching closely to see if Drake can find his way back. The numbers don't lie. SSS For You is a flop, and it's impossible to ignore that Drake is losing his grip on the music industry. He's been passed by Kendrick Lamar, Bad Bunny, The Weeknd, Tyler, and even veteran acts like Eminem. The era of Drake as the biggest name in hip-hop might just be over. Whether you love or hate the artist, the undeniable truth is that his music isn't hitting the same way anymore. For now, all we can do is watch as Drake's career faces a major crossroads. Will he reinvent himself or fade into obscurity